we can start. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to this first IcySea webinar. Thank you for joining. So my name is Alexandra Stocker. I'll be presenting today with my colleague Lasse Rabenstein.
That's me. Hello, good morning.
And we have also Engin that is from Ezabik that will be helping us if support. So if you have quite technical questions or whatsoever, you can write in the chat and we'll try to help you with that. But so far it seems so good. So before we actually begin the webinar, just a few information. So this event is recorded. So the entire event is recorded for archive purposes, and we will only publish the presentations given by myself and Lasse. When you're not speaking, we'll just ask you to please mute yourself. And while we are presenting, if you have a spontaneous question, you can raise your hand. So there's this function here at the bottom of the menu in reactions, and you click raise hand. So then we'll see that you have a question and then you can ask. Otherwise, if you have questions that come in mind but don't need to be asked directly, you can just write in the chat and we'll keep them for the later sessions of Q&A or the discussion. So here's an overview of the event, the agenda. So first, Lasse will give an introduction on Drift+Noise, who we are, and how Drift+Noise came with the idea of IcySea and who's behind it. And we also have a series of poll questions that will be given. So the first poll will be kind of to introduce, have an idea of who's with us today. And then I will continue with, and of course we will show the results to everyone after of the poll. That's anonymous, so it's just to have an idea. And then I will give a live demo of the IcySea app, how to register, and guide you through the different layers that the app offers. And then we'll present you with a second poll just on a few features of what you think about them and what's your level of analysis of them. Then there'll be a short Q&A for the IcySea app if there's something you didn't understand or if you would like more explanations. And then Lasse will continue with future navigational tools and data layers that will be introduced that we would like to have in IcySea in the future. And then there's the open discussion where you can ask your questions or your comments for about 20 minutes. And then we'll finish with a call for action. So yeah, Lasse, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so some of you, or maybe most of you, have realized that this new application, IcySea, is already online since last November, thanks to a Copernicus marine service project, user uptake project. But maybe you have asked yourself who is actually behind that application. And just a few words about us. So the entire idea of this digitalized information service emerged during one of my own expeditions into the Central Arctic when I was still working for the Alfred Wegener Institute in Northern Germany, which is the German Polar Research Institute. Here on this image, you see in the background the research icebreaker Polarstern. And I found myself at some of these expeditions to be in the role of a little bit the ice advisor or the one who's organizing satellite images and so on. At some point, I thought this could be automated. And at some point, then a couple of years ago, we created this spin-off company, Drift+Noise Polar Services, which is labeled here. And since 1.5 years, we are also in the European Space Agency Business Incubation Program. And thanks to that program and thanks to this Copernicus user uptake project, we started to develop IcySea. So who is Drift+Noise Polar Services? It's of course not only a label, it's people behind it. We're presently 5 people actively working on the app. So it's Alexandra and me. And our team of developers, which is Bernhard and Panagiotis and Paul. So whenever you contact us via the app or you email us, you will speak to one of that persons here. I also have to mention for the Copernicus user uptake project, we are also partnering with the Meteorological Institute of Norway in Oslo, more specifically with Malte Müller and Cyril Palerme from the Development Center for Forecasts in Oslo. They run the improved sea ice drift forecasts, which you can see in the Svalbard region. And of course, we are also looking for more partners in the future. That's also one reason why we are having these webinars. So for whom is this IcySea application intended? What do we expect our users are? Here you see a map of the Svalbard region, which is in a publication by Alexandra. After her master's thesis, she managed to publish this in Nature. And you see over the months and years here in the back the sea ice concentration, and in green the activity of fishing vessels, and in yellow of passenger vessels in the area. So the passenger vessels is really seasonal. The fishing vessels are kind of active all year round with more intensity or less. And for the first version of IcySea, we expect that these could be users or are users of this information service. So fisheries and tourism, but of course we also think of research in general, but also research shipping, or also cargo shipping in general. And this list is definitely not complete. So if you know more users, or you don't think you are one of that group, might still be interesting for you. Okay. And then also when I took this photograph from a research expedition in the Svalbard area, and when I saw that, very, very good navigational screen probably, but I missed always like the ice information. I really wish to have, I wanted to touch that screen and just have on near real time, up-to-date ice information presented on such a screen, not particularly this one or so, but in general. So that's why the motivation for IcySea started. And yeah, talking from my perspective on these research cruises, but also from people we were talking to, we see that the job of an ice analyst and an ice advisor on board is quite cumbersome, because you have to gather really a lot of different data, and you need to do that very fast, because the value of these data is decreased because ice changes so quickly due to the drift of the ice. So usually, of course, everyone uses weather data. They get it from somewhere. A lot of people nowadays use satellite images from various platforms in the internet. Then, of course, the ice charts from the ice services is a very, very valuable tool. But they're not everywhere available. So there are regions in the Arctic where you don't have them. Some, but way fewer people use model forecasts and forecasts for the ice. I mean, everyone uses weather forecasts. Not everyone uses ice forecasts. Vessel traffic data is definitely important to know where are the ships in the region. And then some people have ice age, ice thickness information, etc. But what I want to show here is it's so many different data sets, and it's quite some job during the operation of a ship to all gather them together and to get an idea of what's going on around you in terms of ice. So IcySea took some of these data in the first version, mainly the satellite images, ice drift information, and ice drift model forecasts, to display them in the most easy possible way, and very important for low bandwidths. On the long term, we hope that there will be an app available. IcySea can help you to convert all this information in the end to one actionable information you have on one screen, so that you don't have to visit all the different data sources. Yeah, but when you ever have a question, you can also raise hand. I think, Alexandra, you will watch the list of participants to see that. But we will also have dedicated question and answer sessions afterwards. I will now show you, if you have not seen it, what in a 1.5 minute video, what our intention of IcySea is.
To navigate changeable icy waters, you constantly need to know, what is my safest and most fuel-efficient route? That's not easy when ice information is spread across the internet and you have a poor internet connection. So what if you could display sea ice on a map in near real time as simply as this? With IcySea, all the actionable information you need is provided in a single map-based display. So you can take the safest, most direct route to save costs and time to avoid ice entirely, or to find the best route through the ice with an ice-breaking vessel. Here's how easy it is with IcySea. Its map-based interface quickly shows you a variety of high-resolution sea ice information, regularly updated and with 24/7 reliability. Click on the map to get up-to-date satellite imagery, or zoom in to high-resolution images for more detail, even with a low-bandwidth connection. IcySea is the one-stop solution for ice information on board. Take a free trial and find the clearest way ahead.
Okay, so probably most of you have seen that video already, but I think it summarizes in a very good way what our intention is for IcySea. And some of these aspects, it's already realized in IcySea, but of course, it's a way to go, and we need your feedback for this to make it really a very, very, very useful tool, which really gives value for you during your voyages into the ice. Before Alexandra now shows it to you in the live demonstration, I want to ask one question I usually or very often get is the question, but is it not just another web page with sea ice information? There are so many already available. And my answer to this is, it's not really just a web page. What we programmed here is a so-called progressive web app. It's an app delivered via the web. So when you open the web page for IcySea, you can, if you use a modern browser on a modern device, it's like Chrome, for example, or the Safari browser on iPhones or Mac PCs, you will find the option to install it locally, like an app. But even if you don't install it locally, the information are stored on your computer. So when you open the web page again, you will find exactly the last stage, how you left it the last time, even if you're offline. And that makes it possible to use it on board a ship, because you can only connect to the internet when you really want to download something. And then I hand back to you, Alexandra, for the live demonstration.
Okay, so here I'm on the Chrome browser. I've already inserted the IcySea app. So here we have the archipelago Svalbard in a map with the water, landmasks, and coastline. So most of you have already registered, but in the case if you haven't, the first time that you go, you might want to click a layer and the pop-up will come up and will bring you to this, and you need to click on the registration page and put your name and email, and you receive this token to include here. And once you've installed it, if you've registered, then you can actually install it on your device. So on the Chrome page, you go in here. I've already installed it, so I'm just going to open it in the app, which is here. No. And so this installation on your device uses approximately 5.7 megabytes. And once it's installed, that's not going to be used again. And now you can start using the different layers that we have. So the sea ice concentration layer is here. I'm just going to make sure I have the latest version. So I'm going to refresh. Here we go. So it gives you sea ice concentration between 0 and 100%. So in blue is open water. And then you have the green, yellow, red up to purple, which is 100% sea ice concentration. This is actually available for the entire Arctic for the moment, so zooming out a bit. But for the rest of the features, they're based on Svalbard currently. To install this layer, the sea ice concentration, it's approximately 136 kilobytes. And then as Lasse had said, it remains on your app. So every time you look at it, it's not using any data. If you want more information, so already here on the bottom left, there's the label with the timestamp and also the gradient. And there's more information that you can find going up the upper right, where it gives you the data source and how to interpret these different, just how you can interpret this layer. Because there are some biases, for example, below 10% sea ice concentration is not necessarily seen, and there could be a bias to if it's too close to shore. For example, it's quite probable that here on the lower coast of Norway, it shows that there's sea ice, but that won't be necessarily true. The advantage of this layer is that it's updated up to 8 times a day. So if you have access to internet, I recommend to refresh it every time that you use it. Then another layer we have here is the ice drift forecast. This uses approximately 176 kilobytes. I'm also going to make sure I have the latest version, so I'm going to refresh. And so you see these series of dots that appear, and you have the legend at the bottom left that shows with the timestamp and the forecast. So the forecast is made from our colleagues at the Meteorological Institute of Norway. So I'm going to zoom in on a bit of them. So you can see that the dots are connected. So each dot is 1 day of forecast as of the 17th. So it gives you the direction and distance over the next 10 days. And again, there's a little information tab icon here that you can click on that gives you the data source and some interpretation guidelines. And finally, we have the Sentinel-1 layer. Sorry, I just need to move this. And so if you don't select a tile, you would get this message, no tile selected, and you need to click on a tile. So just to show you the border of the tiles, so it's all around Svalbard, so covers most of the Svalbard area. So if we want to see, for example, here, this tile, you right click, get low resolution radar image, and we'll zoom in a bit so we can see it. And here we can see the sea ice. If we get this one, you can see kind of an ice edge. It's not the most clearest one. I'll just download a few. And yeah, so then you get a more detailed image. Now, if you know you're really going to sail in this area and this may be a bit too blurry, you have the option to download the high or full resolution radar image, which makes the image a bit more clear. So the low resolution image is about 28 kilobytes, and the high resolution uses about approximately 1.7 megabytes. Now, again, there's the icon for guidelines and the source data about these images. And as well, we have a little clock that will give you the tile age of the data. So here we can see that these tiles are 4 hours old. And at the bottom left, you have the gradients of colors and also approximate age. So if I zoom out, you'll see that the actual number of hours will be removed. And so yeah, just to give you an idea. And if you really want to know the exact age of that, you just need to zoom on it. And then there's the delete. So if you're not interested in these images anymore, you can just remove the tiles.
Okay. Yeah, other comments I had is these Sentinel-1 images are indeed sometimes really difficult to interpret. My suggestion here is to use both layers, sea ice concentration and the Sentinel-1 image, so you can immediately get aware of what zones are open water and what is ice on the Sentinel-1 image, because open water can be very bright and white on the radar image if it's a rough sea and you have a lot of waves there. And it can be pitch black, the open sea, if it's really a calm sea without wind. So it's not really only the colors you can look at. If it's a high backscatter, which means white in this grayscale here, and low backscatter, which is black, you really also have to look at the structures you see. So everyone who knows how sea ice actually looks has an advantage here, because you see the individual structures of ice flows, etc. The black spot, for example, here in that image is open water within the ice cover. Yeah, exactly, because that open water within the ice cover is calm water. It's not very, there's not a lot of sea state in it. Other comments for the ice drift forecast. We don't have yet an uncertainty connected to it. So please see the sea ice concentration and the ice drift forecast as a kind of a scientific data set, I would call it. So you have to use it with care and sense that it can be, I mean, the sea ice concentration is not wrong, but it has its limitations. So it can be wrong at the coast, close to the coast, and it doesn't show below 10%, for example. The ice drift forecast can be wrong. It's just a forecast. We don't have the uncertainty yet included. It will come at some point. I can just give you the uncertainty. At the moment, it's about 35 degrees in an angle in the first 3 days. And the drift speed or distance over a day is on average by 3 kilometers wrong. Yeah, so at some point, also a question to you here in the audience, maybe how you probably would like to have the uncertainty included in that forecast. And of course, the more we go into the future, the more uncertain it is. We even had a debate in our team whether we should really show the 10 days forecast, because 10 days is really, it's really only a rough guess in the end left. 10 days is it's a long time into the future. It's a good example because it can happen that a Sentinel-1 image just reaches the edge of the satellite image. And then we have a merge of the old one and the new one, like you see here. So this last tile looks like it's divided in the middle. And so far, we only show one tile age at the moment. In the future, we would like to really go into to show which is the age of both of these images. At the moment, it just shows the age of the larger part of the image. So here in this divided image, which is 5 hours old, only the larger part is 5 hours and the smaller part is older. And that's why there's a discontinuity here. Yeah. The same satellite acquisition from the European Space Agency, then there should not be an offset. What you see is an offset in the grayscale, because each tile uses its own minimum and maximum grayscale values. So the colors are a little bit different. So you definitely see a discontinuity in colors. And but if it's from the same satellite acquisition, you should not see actually a jump in position. Like, for example, this open lead in the ice in the upper part of that image here, they should be smooth, the boundary between two tiles. But if you see that it's not smooth, please give us feedback. We are really depending on all this feedback from users to make IcySea better here. So I will go through some frequently asked questions here. One question is, when will IcySea reach final development? Maybe you know the answer already, because it will never reach final development, because what we just want to start here is a continuous development cycle behind the app. So we never will consider it finished. So we will continuously test, or also let the users, of course, test it by using it. And then we will release, based on what we learned from the testing, a new version, deploy it, operate it for a while, monitor what's happening, and then we make new plans, write new code, build in new features and tools. And that's our idea, that we really continuously, sustainably operate the application, the IcySea. And what are the next features? We have a long list of ideas, and we have only a team of 3 developers at the moment coding actively. So we need to prioritize, and we would like to prioritize this based on your feedback. And that's why we will have this kind of webinars. Probably we aim on doing it every half a year, and then everyone who's interested can join, and we present new features, and then we ask you what could be new features. So 2 features which will come soon is first, on the left side, you see we will include the option that you can display your own position on smartphones, iPhones, iPads. That's already implemented in your pad. So we can just access the GPS data from your phone. But if you run it on a bridge and a computer, we will also then explain how you can connect a data stream which is available on the bridge, the GPS data stream, to the app. because we find it, of course, very, very useful to see where are you actually when you're really in the middle of the ice. Where are you on that Sentinel-1 image? And another thing which will come soon is the global coverage. Although we will not release it in one go, the next regions we will go for is Greenland, because we see that there's a lot of activity there. But on the long term, we really want to have this everywhere in the polar regions, also in the Antarctica, because the satellites of NICER and ESA, they record everywhere. So we can actually implement global coverage here. For example, the Antarctic Peninsula will be a hotspot, which is, for the expedition cruises, a very interesting spot. But also for the research, all these research stations around Antarctica, they need to be supplied. And we know that there's less ice charts available for Antarctica compared to the Arctic regions. So now we will ask you all the 3 questions in one go, but I explain the questions to you right now because we are thinking of what should be implemented next. In general, we are having a discussion internally. Shall we include now more navigational tools to incorporate IcySea better in your everyday life or in your planning work on board? Or is it more important now to include more information layers? So we will ask that, for example, more satellite images, like the optical one MODIS. So we will just ask you the first question, 1, more navigational tools, or 2nd, more information layers. The second question is aiming on the navigational tools only. So if we implement navigational tools, we have 2 options for you now to choose and we would be interested what's more helpful for you. The left one is we could include AIS information, like in marinetraffic.com, for example. So you have position of other ships and all this information, which is transported via the automatic information system. Or the right choice is to have some more customization in your IcySea. That means you can plot markers, you can measure distances, and when you reopen IcySea, you still have the last course plot you planned and so on available. So it's we call it a little bit light GIS functionality. So it's again a question to you, which will either be 1 or 2. And the third question is if you go for a new information layer, what would you prefer? We give you option of 3 here. First is you would like to definitely include the official ice charts because it is the truly trustworthy information which is provided by experts and ice analysts. We have to cooperate with the National Ice Services here. And here's an example from the Canadian Ice Service, for example. Just use it as an example with the ECC code and all these things. So we could implement the ice chart functionality. That's one idea. Another thing is, and it's not an either or, it's just a prioritization here we need to do. So what do we do first? Another thing is the optical satellite images. This here is, for example, a high resolution Sentinel-2 optical image. They have the disadvantage that you can't look through clouds like in the Sentinel-1 radar images. But whenever you don't have clouds, they are a really, really useful data set. Or plotted on top in the map, some weather forecast information like wind direction, or also waves could be, wave heights could be plotted here, for example. So this is a 1, 2, or 3. I would like to answer one question which people are interested in is, okay, but how will IcySea be financed actually? Is this IcySea disappearing in 1 year because it's just a new project, or will it sustain? I can only tell you that we have the group of 5 people at the moment. We are behind IcySea. We really want to make this a long-term thing and sustainable. And one plan we're going to is that at some point this will be financed by subscription fees, because we believe it is the most sustainable way to keep such an app alive is if it's paid by those people using it. That's but we also want to co-finance it with research and development funding. We all have or not all, but most of us have a research background, a polar research background. So we will always do and participate in research. Presently, we, for example, have a project called Ice Class 2 from the Ministry of Transportation in Germany, and the initialization of IcySea, how you see it right now, was really triggered by a Copernicus Marine Service European Union project. And our goal here is that at some point, we believe that if you have a team of 6 to 8 developers working on IcySea, then we can make it a really useful, valuable tool which keeps up the pace with the digitization nowadays, which will can update every month, include new layers and so on, etc. Just for that. So we're really working that this works out in the end and that everything is remains sustainable and available for you.
Reaching the end of the webinar. Thank you for your participation. And now if you want to take part in the development of IcySea, I know not all of you are registered yet, so I recommend that you register today on IcySea.app. As Lasse has mentioned, the Svalbard area is free until December 2021. And also the sea ice concentration layer is free across the Arctic. We invite you to share IcySea with your colleagues that would be interested in this app. And once you're sailing around Svalbard, which we hope will be sooner than later, please test the app and send us your feedback. So you can contact me directly at stalker@drift+noise.com or Lasse at Rabenstein@drift+noise.com. And you can also call us directly if you want. So yes, thank you for your participation today.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It was very, very valuable feedback we got from you. Now our developers know what to do next. I think it was optical images.
Yep, that was the main thing. Okay, and we will send you a short email of how this webinar went with the links, so you can check out the different things we talked about today and also our emails again.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.